Welcome back. Dead Ball Dancing. This is January 24th. We are squarely in real basketball season. Justin, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Good, man. How are you? Oh, dude. Conference basketball. I mean, it just doesn't get any better to this, right? We've talked about it. We've talked about it at length and how some of these top 25 teams that we have on our board here, some natural attrition is going to start coming. So, can't wait to dive into that. Today with you. You could see it on the board, a ton of movement when we thought there was going to be some stabilization. But yeah, dude, what a great week of basketball, and I'm really excited to dive in. What caught your eye this week, man?
Man, there's a lot. So I'm taking time to watch more basketball that interests me
Yeah,
versus the games that matter. Right. One of the things that we've done from the beginning here is yes, the AP poll matters. Yes, what national media thinks and covers matters, but there's a lot more basketball going on. And we've got a couple spots today in this show where we're going to talk about the fringes of the AP poll. We're going to talk about teams that other people aren't talking about. Obviously, our rankings by necessity are a little bit different.
of course.
Um, but that's really been my focus is where are games I can pick up and see something I haven't seen. I watch a lot of college basketball. So I've been looking for teams I don't normally get to watch, players that are like right on the outskirt of
Yeah,
like player of the year consideration for
yeah,
conferences,
yeah.
just to round out some of my knowledge. So I, this week, am at a detriment. I have put myself in a hole against the good teams, right? The
I
top
know.
25 or so.
Yeah,
I didn't watch much
yeah,
top level basketball this week.
yeah. I'm with you, and I think we've touched on it quite a bit about how some of these mid-major conferences are the good brand of basketball to watch because when you get into March Madness, like we know who the 1 through 5 seeds are going to be, right? But we've seen in the past years is these 12 seeds, these 13 seeds, these 14 seeds have started to get a lot better, right? And started to try some of these bigger teams. So to me, like that's the fun basketball to watch because this might be a year where you have like an exorbitant amount of upsets. Like we're going to go through some of the new teams that you see here. Look at number 20, right? On our top 25. And like we'll get into St. Louis in a bit, but like St. Louis is not a mid-major team anymore, right? So I want, if you don't mind, for you to kick us off there. Like, what are you seeing in St. Louis? Because I finally caught up to them, Rick, and I'm with you. I got them at 20 for me, and I know that you have them at 21. So I think we're pretty even on them. But what are your thoughts on them, man? Man, if they look good.
Well, like elite level mascot, right? The Billy is not only
Yeah,
terrifying, but also just like instills fear in your enemies.
yeah,
You can't see that thing across the sideline and not be afraid.
yeah,
We've talked a lot about the A10.
yeah,
The A10 is up and coming. Most people could tell you about the Bonnies. The Bonnies have been on the edges of public knowledge for a while. VCU, we made a big deal about last year. They made a little bit of noise in the tournament.
yeah,
But this A10 for the last several seasons, right, has had multiple teams who are worth taking a look at. I mean, we featured Richmond and Fordham in game of the week. It was a short week, and we were kind of scratching. But Loyola went on that big tournament run.
yeah,
Dayton every single year is
yep,
there.
yep,
And then this year with St. Louis and George Mason kind of pacing the conference. This is now, we joke about the big four conferences, right? The power
yeah,
four conferences.
yeah,
Like add the ACC and the A10, right? Those are the six conferences you really need to watch. So
yeah, absolutely.
it's good basketball. It's well paced. Obviously, being on a 13-game winning streak gets you some attention
Wow.
nationally.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Billikens are playing good basketball, and they're playing it with not household names. So
No.
I really enjoy the A10 and the Billies are something else, man.
There's something else. 24 in the AP poll. Not that we give a crap, honestly, about the AP poll, but realistically, I think this should be higher. This team, should be the favorite to win the A10. But I'm going to keep it in the A10 if you don't mind, and I'm going to go to George Mason because I think George Mason has something to say about that. 18-1. Only loss was very close, obviously coming against Virginia Tech, who you and I have kind of been decently high on and who has several quad one wins, including a win over Virginia. They now have 2 9-game winning streaks in the same season. I mean, this George Mason team is prolific, and what I really like about them is they'll kind of keep you close in the first half, right? They score 36, allow 34, and then in the second half of games, they score 42 and allow 33, which is number 10 in the nation at second half defense. I mean, this George Mason team is a lot of fun to watch, and I think when we get down to it, it's gonna be up to these two teams, I think, in both the regular season and conference tournament. But the reason why I want to give George Mason the edge here a little bit, which is I can't wait for that game of the week, right? Is they don't make too many mistakes. And I think that's very similar between St. Louis and George Mason. When you watch their style of play, they're controlled, they're calm, they don't make a ton of mistakes. I mean, both these teams are top 15 in the country in committed turnovers per game. I mean, they just take care of the ball, right? And what I really like, round out in the conversation on George Mason, is 2 of their top 4 scorers are at 51% field goal percent from the field. And I really like that. Plus, you got Corey Mincy. I don't know if you got a chance to watch a George Mason game, but this Corey Mincy kid is pretty nasty, dude. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists on 48% from the field, 92 from the line, and 42% from 3. This George Mason team is fun to watch. I'm a little interested in the AP here, Rick. Before we move on, I kind of want to get your thoughts. What do you think the AP sees in St. Louis that they don't see in George Mason? I'm confused, because I think both those two teams have a case to be ranked in the AP poll. But what's the difference there that I'm missing?
Quite frankly, I think they just looked at KenPom and they're like, "Oh, St. Louis is a team."
Okay.
St. Louis at 2024 in the KenPom.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
George Mason, off the top of my head, is like
lower. Yeah.
73 in the KenPom right now.
Okay.
So like the publicly available agreed upon stats that are out there, St. Louis is better. Sure. They have one additional win. They're 7-0 in conference. So, flip it. And I don't think I have any issue with it. Again, we don't put a whole lot of stock in the AP, but that would be my guess, right? It's a visibility thing.
Yeah.
St. Louis is a team that's been good more recently than George Mason has as well. So maybe there's some recency bias.
Very true. Very true.
They don't play till March 7th. Unbalanced A10 schedule with 14 teams. They only play once. It's the last conference game of the year. And
dude,
it's not in St. Louis.
Is it in DC?
So
that'll be a fun. You could already tell, like the way we're framing this, that's going to be game of the week. Absolutely.
Well, and it might be for the regular season title in the A10.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Not that matters for everything the way most conferences are these days, where you have to win the tournament to get that auto bid.
Yeah.
But if that game is for all the marbles, we are probably talking about a 2 or 3 bid A10.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, kind of just going back to the board here, Rick, obviously the one that sticks out to us both here is Duke. And you had definitely talked about how they had a kind of a trap road trip going out to the West Coast. But man, why don't you take me through how they looked?
Business, man.
7 slots up. Talk to me a little about Duke, man.
We said there was a risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
We prefaced it with Duke is the better team, right? It was never like Duke shouldn't win these games, but Stanford's playing well and Cal beat you up a little bit. Well, they go to Cal and they win that one by 15. And that wasn't really a 15-point game.
No.
Duke really controlled pace there.
Yeah.
They were up 7 at the half and just kind of coasted from there. They never were really challenged after that. So they didn't get into those body blows and stuff. Cal didn't really do enough to slow them down. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about was, okay, like Cal, they'll probably beat, but they'll be beat up. They'll be tired. It's West Coast back-to-back games. Stanford's really good.
Yeah.
35-19 at the half at Stanford, 30-point win. Boozer, man.
Yeah, that kid is something else, man. Like,
do you think Caden Boozer is upset that he's going to be like back of the first round pick and his brother's going to be like all NBA somewhere?
I I think you have to be, but I think in the back of his mind, Caden can't be mad because he has a high probability to win a title. Like, just to give people an idea of how good this Boozer kid is, 23 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block on 59% from the field, 75 from the line, and 38 from 3. This kid's 7 feet tall. How he's not the number 1 overall pick and Peterson's ahead of him right now, I don't understand. But, dude, I think you and I have kind of went back and forth on, does Duke look good? Do they not look good? And I think what they just did on that West Coast trip, Rick, is they went out and made a statement. They said, yeah, okay, we've kind of been inconsistent this year. Let's go out and put people like our foot on people's necks and show them like we're the team that you guys thought we were at the beginning of the season. So dude, they just look phenomenal, like phenomenal.
And they play Wake today. That should be easy. They have a home game against.
Is that in Wake?
No.
Yeah, that's in Cameron. Okay.
Yeah, and then another game at home against Louisville Monday night. And that's the one I'm kind of looking at here. Obviously, we kind of shot them up our board because for me, they answered all the questions I had.
They did.
Right. We talked about them getting trapped out west because of inconsistency in play.
Yeah.
And they eliminated all that for me.
I
had to go back. I had to go back and watch the condensed game for Stanford just out of the sake of time. And what I hate about the condensed games is you lose some of that game flow, but I like it so much more than looking at a box score.
Agreed.
Because you get a sense for the pacing on the court. Man, Duke is not only the best team in the ACC, they might be the best team south of the Mason-Dixon in that part of the country. Yeah. We'll talk about Florida coming up here, but
absolutely.
That Duke is looking pretty hot.
They are. They are.
I'm excited to see if they can close it out here.
Yeah.
They still have to play Clemson. They still have to play Virginia. And they still have to get through Michigan in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Yep.
So there's opportunity here for them to really cut their teeth.
Yeah.
But, Louisville's ranked.
Yep.
UNC is ranked. Clemson's ranked. Michigan's ranked. Virginia's ranked. NC State's really good. So, the back half of their schedule here through February is impressive, but Duke should be favored in every single one of these games, maybe except the Michigan game.
Agreed.
And they should win probably most of those. And so if we're talking about a 1, 2, 3 loss Duke team, we're talking about a one
line easy. And potentially if Arizona loses, it could be Duke taking that number 1 overall seed. I still think Arizona, even if they lose, should be the number 1 overall seed. this team's stupid. But Duke has now made a case to be the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. So if you don't mind, go ahead. I'm going to take us to another one that slid.
Yeah. So I real quick on Arizona, we were sitting at an event and Arizona Cincy's on TV and Cincy's holding their own. Arizona's playing absolute putrid shit, and they're still up by 6. And I look at my buddy sitting next to me, and I go, Arizona's going to win this game by 20.
And they did.
And 77-51. They outscore them by 20 points in the second half. So it's like Arizona at their absolute worst is 6 points better than Cincinnati. And then when they turn it on, it's just it's effortless. It's absolutely effortless. So
and I put a really hot take in the comment section or in the chat in YouTube. We can now make a case that Arizona is the best team in the last decade. I'm starting to actually think that, and I'm not joking. Now I'm going to turn to a team that it's like Groundhog's Day with these people. And it's funny because we talk to Braden at work about this all the time. And I actually thought that this was going to be the year that they broke through. Iowa State continues to be Iowa Stating. They did the exact opposite of last year. Last year, everyone was high on them and they faltered. This year, everyone was low on them. And they come out the gates, beat the dog crap out of my boys. And you're like, oh my God, this is the second best team in the nation by a long shot. 1-2 in the last 3 after going undefeated essentially to start the season. They lost by 20 to Kansas, 36% from the field, 33% from 3, 55% from the line, 11 assists, 12 turnovers, out-rebounded by 5, and out-rebounded by 8 on the defensive boards, allowed 32 points in the paint. That's just a Kansas stat line, by the way. I'm about to get into the next one. You lose by 9 to Cincy. That's probably the worst loss that this franchise has had in the last like 3 years. 43% from the field, 43% from three, 63% from the line on 27 attempts. Out rebounded again by 8, and this time by 4 on the offensive rebound, on the offensive side of the glass. What stat categories jump out to you? For me, this team can't shoot free throws. And to close out games, right, in the tournament, if you can't shoot free throws, you will lose. It's that simple. You will lose basketball games. I don't know what goes on in this program at the middle of every year, Rick. But at this point, when we do season 3 of Dead Ball Dancing, I don't care if they're undefeated at 19-0 and they've beat every team by 30. The minute that middle of December hits, I'm going to put them at 25 because essentially they're not done sliding. It's like, what is it? Is it coaching? Is it they're training too hard? Is it Iowa gets cold so they can't get loose enough to play basketball? Or is it actually just a jinx? Because this is the dumbest thing and the most repeatable thing that I've ever seen every year. What are they doing, dude? Like, what is this team doing?
And I'm with you, but like project it out, right? Like what happens next? Like they're 17-2. They're 4-2 in conference. So place Arizona aside. All right, let's not muddy the waters with that. They're better than Tech.
Yes.
They're better than Houston. They are better than the BYU team we saw this week.
We're going to get into that in a second.
So, okay, yeah, how do we rank them? Who are they? Why do they have this slump?
Yeah.
But they're a tournament team.
Of course.
They're the second or third best team in the Big 12 at the end of the year.
But
so right, like we run a weekly show, right? So we got to talk about the fact that they had an atrocious week, right?
Right.
But like, where do they end up for you? Like, worst case scenario, are they 5th in the Big 12? Because it can't be much lower than that,
right?
You know, maybe behind Kansas and the Big 4,
right? But I think my problem is when you say project it out, I am projecting it out, and I think they lose to Tech. I think they lose to BYU. I think they lose to Houston. I think they lose to Kansas. How many losses is that right there? 4? And I have to play a couple of them twice. I think I can make the argument that with the way Iowa State looks at the back half of the season, walk with me on this one, versus how Tech has started to look in the second half of the season, that Tech, Houston, and BYU all beat Iowa State once. I think I can confidently say that. Now, to your point, does that mean Iowa State's floor is 15 overall, 16 overall, given the fact that they looked good in their non-conference schedule? Sure, maybe.
But that's a 27-7 Tech Iowa State team.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the trajectory, right? We talk about how teams look trajectory wise, and it's like if this is a 4 seed or a 5 seed, Iowa State, right? Probably not. Probably a 4 seed in the NCAA tourney, and they have to go up against a St. Louis. Can you confidently say that St. Louis doesn't beat them?
No. I think for me, it's more how wrong we were on the Big 12.
Oh, true.
This is potentially a 7-bid conference.
You can make a case for 8, right? Like, I'm with you. I am with you.
Like, I think West Virginia gets left out, which would be hilarious. And put the Knights in, put UCF in there, but
2, 3, 4,
like,
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
You know, we missed on the Big 12 because they looked on paper awful. And then early in the year, they looked not great on the court, right? Obviously, they won games by and large, but there's something there. And we're still seeing the residuals with this Iowa State team, right? But like, we thought they sucked. They look bad recently, and they're 17-2. You know, so it's something that as we start thinking about the tournament more and more as we're getting closer, and I know you're going to throw my words back in my face later, but like wins, right? It's just wins. Yeah. So like, yes, an Iowa State team we should be really worried about. Yeah. Okay, well, give them the 5 losses that are left on the schedule with the teams you talked about.
Sure.
It's a 7-loss team with 25 wins, right? I mean, that's an
Sure.
elite level basketball team.
Sure. I guess it's just I'm just tired of it, I guess. I don't know. It's like they just do it every year. And I get so excited to see them play well because I like the coaching staff. I like their style of play. I think their mascot's really cool. Like I think that's a pretty cool mascot. And they just piss me off year over year. They're so disappointing. So I guess we'll see, right? Like if we get into Big 12 play and all of a sudden they're knocking off like Houston or whatever. I don't know what their next game is. I'm about to look it up right now. I know they just beat the ever loving crap out of like they were mad in that game, whatever that game was. They were mad at UCF.
I just closed it. They have everybody
30.
one more time.
Yeah. So today they got Oklahoma State at 1. Like even that, Rick, right? Like Oklahoma State is 14-5 with some big wins this year. Like, and that's in Oklahoma. Iowa State should win by 40, but like I now can't be confident about that. You know what I mean? So I guess I'm just curious to see how that turns out. So
I'm just curious to see the line on that game.
Say it really quick before we move on.
It's gotta be stupid because
probably 15
they're
and a half,
way
16.
better. They are way better. It's 10 and a half.
Okay. Yeah, that's
so
low to me. But
can we talk about another team that sucks? Can we talk about Vandy?
Yeah, we can talk about Vandy.
Talk about Vandy. So
disappointing.
So disappointing. Is it though? Because like they were never going to go undefeated.
No, they were not. They were not.
And we've been prefacing it all year that like eventually reality is going to set in, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the opposite side of the coin. Without getting too lost in the SEC, I know we have more to talk about there.
Yeah,
but
we do.
Like,
yep.
Florida should have beaten Vandy, right? That shouldn't have surprised anybody. Florida has more talent, better resources. Like, there's no reason why Vanderbilt should be good at basketball.
Yep.
Like, we should be more surprised by 96-90 over Bama than 98-94 loss to Florida. Like, yes, it's a cool story. Yes, they're playing great basketball. It's still Vandy, you know, like this is the team that loses 93-68 to Arkansas. That is who Vandy is. This amazingly played Vandy team with the pacing and the crisp shooting. It's a great story. They're a good team. They will make the tournament.
Yeah.
They are more 80-64 Texas than they are 84-73 Vandy over LSU. Their losses are more real, and they're not like bad loss. 25 points to Arkansas is not great. But, 4 points to Florida, I mean, that's a really, really good loss. But we never should have thought that Vandy was better than Florida in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. And you called it. You legitimately called it. You said the gauntlet that they had coming up is something we're about to find out who they are. And we did. The 0-3 in the last 3, including probably the worst loss of the season for any top 25 team versus Texas. That Texas team is horrible. And so, I guess I'm just disappointed because I was like, oh, Vanderbilt's finally good again. Like we get to see a Cinderella story and not the same old bullshit winning the SEC. And I guess, it's just really disappointing. And I'm going to keep it on. I'm going to keep it on kind of a similar topic here, Rick, and how the mighty have fallen, right? Like Vandy was at 3 or 4, slide all the way down. I'm sorry, math is mathing. Vandy was at 8. My apologies, because we slid them a little bit last week. I remember. I just talked about how they're 0-3 in their last 3, and I mean, there's just some really bad basketball going on by top 25 teams. Clemson's now 16-4. You cannot lose to NC State at home, right? At home. If you're Clemson trying to make a case that you're going to win the ACC. Clemson is very lucky that I didn't put them on notice, and they're very lucky that there's a team that I absolutely despise ahead of them. Kansas is 14-5, huge win over Iowa State, 20-point blowout. They looked real good in that game. You can't lose to West Virginia if you want a chance in the Big 12. I like West Virginia. I think West Virginia is better than what they've shown this year or what their record shows this year. I think they should be a tournament team. They've played some really tough teams close. That's a bad loss by Kansas. That's a bad loss by Kansas. Is Mike Peterson watching? Let me ask a question real quick. Give me a second. BYU. BYU absolutely disgusts me. And I know they disgust you too, because we both took them to win last week. We were down on them at the beginning of the year. They looked like crap, right? They were winning games, but they looked like crap. 5-point wins versus like Little Sisters of the Poor. They made a huge resurgence. They tried one of the best teams in the nation in UConn. They absolutely shot themselves against Texas Tech. They got outplayed in every facet of the game, Rick, from the defensive side of the ball to shooting. Toppin looked phenomenal. DeBonce had 13 points in that game. If you should be disgusted. Like, you should be disgusted if you're AJ DeBonce. The kid is incredible. The kid is essentially the whole team. I think he's going to be a phenomenal NBA player who's really going to actually play how an NBA player should play. But that's a very, very disappointing performance. So it's just been weird to me to see some of these teams that we've been so high on this year kind of fall off the board here in these past couple of weeks. And I know we talked about it, Rick. Like, natural attrition is going to occur. I got it. But if you're BYU, you can't let that happen. So
it's a road loss to a really, really good conference opponent. I don't think it's as bad as we made it to be, right? We were overranked on BYU.
Yeah, true. True.
If anything, I think now we're kind of corrected back down. 12 is probably closer to where they should have been ranked instead of 4, 5, wherever the hell we had them.
Yeah.
So, it's hard for me to get too upset when Texas Tech we have sitting at 13, right? I mean, we're saying these teams are about the same. So obviously you don't want to lose by 13, but on the road against a skilled opponent, they sold out to stop your only asset, right? I mean, they were doubling the entire game.
Yep, and it worked. But
and the kid's 18 years old. I mean,
but don't you have to game plan against that? Like, the only reason it was a 13-point loss was because Richie Saunders played out of his mind. He had 30 or like 28 or something. Can you imagine if Richie Saunders didn't have that? They would have lost by 30 points, bro. So it's like, to me, I guess I'm just disappointed. And the reason why I'm making such a big deal about it is you knew they were going to throw everything they had at DeBonce. Like, I think at one point they had 4 guys on him when he went to the rack. And you're still not putting together an offensive package to relieve some of that pressure from him. It didn't make sense to me, that game plan. So I think that's why I'm making a bigger deal of it than I am, or than it really is. So just disappointed. Yeah, just very disappointed.
I mean, so to take it back to an argument we've had a whole bunch, right? Does coaching matter? Kevin Young has no coaching experience.
None.
Kevin Young was an assistant for the Suns, wasn't he? Like,
yes, he
so
was.
He doesn't even have good organizational experience because he
Right.
plays for one of the shittiest franchises in basketball, right?
Right.
So, like, is this where that coaching comes through? It's something you and I have talked circles around because it shouldn't, right? But if you have an 18-year-old who's your best player and you don't, right, potentially, we don't know, we're not in that locker room, but you don't game plan for it appropriately because you don't have the experience to do so, that's 13-point loss, right? I mean, that's easy. I can walk that bridge very easily. So
okay,
I'm trying to BYU has looked really, really good. They have had great game plans, right?
Yeah.
They played UConn well. So I don't want to say Kevin Young can't coach. And if you've watched the show before, you know that I put very little stock in coaching anyway. But if we say coaching matters and we allow for the fact this kid's really young, it's a really easy walk to losing by 13 on the road to a really good Tech team.
Yeah, and I have Tech at 8. So, I think Tech has been a little undervalued. I essentially flipped BYU and Tech. Let me just make sure I have my numbers right here. Yeah, I got Tech at 8, BYU at 9. And I think the only reason that BYU isn't slid farther is because you have them at 19, and I think that's right. I think BYU at 19 is more realistic than BYU at 8. I probably just didn't update that. So, yeah, I'm probably going to slide them more. Who do they have next? Do you know off the top of your head?
No.
I'm going to look it up real quick. They have Utah's at BYU. That's going to be a bloodbath. Okay. So question for you. Walk with me on this one. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give you some stats, and then I want you to tell me where you would rank this team, if you don't mind. Does that sound good? Okay.
Yep.
12-6, losses to Kansas, Syracuse, Illinois, Arkansas, and lost to Kentucky by 2 after being up by 15. Hold on. 278th in free throw percentage, 292nd in committed turnovers, 207th in committed fouls, 227th in allowed 3 points made, 135 in allowed free throws made. Where would you rank them?
14. That sounds like a number 14 team in the country to me.
Walk with me on that one.
All right. So I should have both Kentucky and Tennessee closer to Texas Tech.
Okay.
I have Tennessee at 14, which is the conversation we're about to have. I have Kentucky at 27.
Yeah.
And I have Tech at 20.
Sure.
They should all be batched closer together, probably around BYU. So call it 17 to 21 for those 4 teams. Vanderbilt in the same conversation.
Sure.
A little overranked on Tennessee.
Sure.
And the reason for that is I think that they are at this point the second or third best team in the SEC.
Wow.
And
okay.
Whatever weird streaky nonsense is going on with Tennessee, when they are hitting, when they're firing on all cylinders, this team can go toe-to-toe offensively with anybody. The issue is that they give up a shit ton of points and they're streaky as hell, right? But body of work for Florida, who I have just ahead of Tennessee, we can make some of the same arguments with. Florida's running into shape, right? Florida is going to continue flying up the boards here, I think.
Yeah, they are.
As they assume the position they should be in.
Correct.
But I look at a team like Alabama, who I have ahead of Florida. So 12, 13, 14 is Bama, Florida, Tennessee.
Me too.
In my rankings. So Bama has disappointed me at times this year.
Sure.
But I feel like the floor is so much higher. So the way my rankings sit right now, I am on Tennessee's upside. And I will admit, I do not have enough exposure to Tennessee's downside in my rankings.
Sure.
But part of the reason for that is because I think losing to Kentucky like that is going to stop this slide.
You think so?
They are going to get their ass beat all week.
In practice.
That is
I hear you.
Unacceptable result. So I think the slide is over. So I'm comfortable taking Tennessee's offensive upside. They are a powerhouse. The SEC is stabilizing, right? But it's stabilizing lower than we thought it would be. Georgia's playing well, right? Vandy is returning to form. Arkansas is kind of the team we've assumed all year. Tennessee is better than those teams. Tennessee is better than Kentucky.
You think
Tennessee is better than
Arkansas?
Auburn.
They're not better than Arkansas, right?
I think they're better than Arkansas.
They lost by 11.
But when?
Early. Yeah, second game of the SEC. Yeah, sure. Okay.
So, I think we're coming back to a space where, 31 SEC teams made the tournament last year, right? So I think we're getting back to a place where now, if you look at our rankings here, look at all these SEC teams that have snuck back in here.
Yeah.
Look just outside. Kentucky's at 31 in our rankings. Auburn's at 39. LSU's at 45. Right. So you're calling me out on the ranking for Tennessee, and I think you're right. Right. I think you're right.
Maybe. Yeah.
But as the SEC condenses here, as we're in SEC play, I think Tennessee is a top 3 SEC team at the end of the year.
Okay.
So to not have them ranked appropriately for that, I think would be a malpractice of how I do my rankings.
Sure.
But your point is fair. They have bad losses. They have horrific losses. They have losses to SEC teams I'm saying they're better than. So I like the call out. But my question to you would be, realistically, if this Tennessee is Tennessee, right? If this one that loses to Kentucky gets blown out by Arkansas, right? If that's Tennessee, where do they end the year in the SEC? Are they a tournament team if this sample size, right? This small sample size is Tennessee? Can they still make it in?
And that's where I was going to turn next, Rick. I think You know what? They're gonna end above 500 in the SEC. Let me start with that. Let me start with that. My concern is it's too late, right? You're 2-3 to start SEC play. You have Bama in Tuscaloosa today, and then you have Georgia in Georgia as your next 2 games. You got to play Bama again. You got to play Vanderbilt twice. We just talked a lot of shit about Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt still looks pretty decent. Like, and then you're at Kentucky once more. I mean, we can
and
make
Oklahoma's good, and Mizzou's been good, and you got Bama again. You know,
Rick, my problem is, like, if they're 2-3 right now, and this is my concern. This is why I'm so concerned about Tennessee. They're 2-3 right now. Let's make the argument that they lose at Bama and lose at Georgia. That is a possibility. You and I both agree that is a better than 50% close to better than 50% possibility. You're 2-5 to start SEC play, and you have to play Bama once more, Vanderbilt twice, Oklahoma and Kentucky once more.
Okay, so count the wins.
Sure.
Count the losses. That's easier, right? Count the losses.
Sure. 1,
so
2, 3, 4, 5. Assuming Bama and Georgia, right?
Okay, so 5 losses. You're 20-11 to end the year.
Right, but then you have to play Bama once more. There's 6 losses. Let's say they split versus Vanderbilt. There's 7 losses. Do you think they beat Kentucky at Kentucky? Let's talk about that one.
I do.
Okay,
right?
so then,
but and 7 losses puts you at 18, 13, right? Which is probably not a tournament team.
Yeah.
But the way that has to break for all those losses to hit, especially in games where you're like, it's 60-40, 50-50, right? 55-45.
Sure. Okay.
There's no way they lose all 7.
I see your point.
So if they're all 50-50 games, give them half.
Sure.
Right?
Okay. And if that's the case,
that team is 22-9.
If that's the case, then they make the tournament for sure. Yeah, they make the tournament, and they make the tournament as a 4 seed, probably 5 seed. So it's so strange how it could go so different ways because we just don't know who Tennessee is. Like, I just can't figure them out.
And that's why they play the games, right? Yeah. I mean, that's why we play basketball games is to determine all that. It's easy for us to sit here and be like, yes, 3 weeks from now, Tennessee's definitely going to beat the brakes off Ole Miss. Well, maybe they won't, right?
They won't. Yeah. Good conversation about Tennessee. I'm going to keep it in the SEC, and then we got one more thing, I think, to close out our top 25. Keeping in the SEC, I like Arkansas a lot, man. Can't believe I'm saying that about a Calipari coach team. They're a sneaky little pick, man. They're a sneaky little pick to win the SEC tourney. 4-2 in SEC play to start. Somehow A&M, thank God, is 5-1. 14-5 overall. 12-0 at home, dude. 12-0 at home. Very interesting to keep an eye on that. They only really have one bad loss, Rick. Auburn. You can't lose to Auburn. That's horrific. The rest of their losses is Duke by 9, Michigan State by 3, Houston by 9, and Georgia by 14. Look, those are all DBD, Ken Palm, and AP ranked teams, and they're ranked really high. Good wins against Louisville, Texas Tech, Tennessee, and beat Vanderbilt by almost 30, bro. Now, they can't play any defense. They can't play any defense whatsoever. This team on the offensive side of the basketball is a treat to watch, Rick. 10th in scoring, 90 points a game. 24th in assists, 9th in assist to turnover. 19th in three-point percentage. 20th in two-point percentage. 9th in field goals made. 32nd in free throws made. 11th in first half scoring. 9th in second half scoring. Number 28 in committed turnovers. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Calipari has these guys disciplined, and he has these guys playing together. This team does not play iso ball. This team does not take bad shots. And man, do they look good. I mean, this team looks like they could be the real deal going into not just the remainder of the SEC tournament or SEC regular season, but the conference tournament as well. They have a very, very favorable schedules coming up. LSU should win that game. At Oklahoma, should win that game. Versus Kentucky will be interesting. Let's say they win that game. They're 7-2 to start SEC play, Rick. Keep your eye on this Arkansas team, man. This is a very, very fun team to watch.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be surprised. They beat a really good South Carolina team in the SEC tournament. They lost to an elite level Ole Miss team, right? They took it to Kansas. They beat the shit out of St. John's. They took Texas Tech to the last possession. I mean, that's just how they finished last year. They returned a ton of talent. Yeah. If you told me Arkansas won the SEC,
you wouldn't be shocked.
Sure.
Yeah, you
Why
wouldn't
not,
be shocked.
right?
Yeah, you would not be shocked at all. So take us through the biggest discrepancy in the history of DBD rankings.
All right. So there's a couple pieces to this. Number one, regardless of the next 5 minutes, having Miami of Ohio ranked number 4 calls your entire rankings into question. I do appreciate that in whatever fantasy world you're living in, they're still ranked ahead of Purdue. Because I think that's real. I think that's real. Yeah.
You like that? Yeah.
We'll talk about them. But
yeah.
Okay. Couple things here on Miami of Ohio.
I have crazy counter arguments, right?
I know. So I had Akron as my pick.
Sure.
Preseason.
Sure.
I still have Akron ahead.
Sure.
They won't play again. Akron lost by 3 in Oxford. Is what it is, right? Miami of Ohio is undefeated. Miami of Ohio is ranked in the AP poll. Let's talk just facts.
Sure.
Miami of Ohio has probably already done enough to make the tournament.
Sure.
Being undefeated this late in the season, being ranked as a mid-major, they could probably not win the auto bid out of the MAC and make the tournament.
Yep. Fair.
Full stop.
Fair.
My issue with Miami of Ohio in general and the ranking of Miami of Ohio, both in the AP poll and anywhere in our top 20.
Sure.
Is that their ceiling is losing in the tournament.
Sure.
They haven't played anybody real, which is fine. Win your games, right? And again, wins are wins are wins.
Yeah.
And the way they're winning is very, very impressive.
I cannot wait to use that in the on-notice conversation. Just letting you know. Go ahead.
I mean, that's fine. I'm ready for that one too. They're winning the games that they have scheduled, and that's all you can do.
Yep.
I don't think this team, as a undefeated MAC champion,
sure,
right, is a top 15 AP ranked team.
Sure.
Right.
Okay.
They won't do it. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we saw anything like this was Murray State in 2010, 2011, whatever it was. They were 6.
Yeah.
Right. And when you think about the rankings, right, 24th is a 6th seed.
Correct.
Right. So if you have a 6 come in, what 11 seed from a major conference is going to take it to this MAC team? We don't have data that says undefeated small conference teams do well in the tournament.
Sure.
It's just not really a thing. Don't talk to me about freaking Gonzaga. That's not what we're talking about right now, right?
I kept my mouth shut.
Yeah. So it's like what I'm seeing from this team, they're playing really, really well. I don't have them ranked as the best team in the MAC.
Sure.
But they don't have to play that team again. So if you're undefeated, right, if you're 33-0, 32-0 in the MAC, you go into the MAC championship.
Yep.
Obviously, if you win the MAC championship tournament, you're undefeated, right? That team, that undefeated team that beats Akron, I think is a 5 or a 6 seed. If they go undefeated and lose to Akron, Akron gets the auto bid.
Sure.
We're talking about a play-in team, right? We're talking about like the play-in 12 or 13.
I don't think that's real. I don't think that's real. You can't go 30-1 and be a play-in team. Like, I don't care what conference you're in. If you're 30-1, you're 30-1. I mean, they might end up being a 13 seed, but they're going to get an auto bid at this point, no matter what. If I remember correctly, a win's a win's a win, right? That's isn't that that's true, right?
They're undefeated. I have them ranked higher than I would because they're undefeated.
Yeah.
I have them ranked like 87 because there's 86 teams better than them.
Well, there's only 3 teams that are better than them. But they're the 12th best scoring offense in the nation, 28th best in average margin of victory, number 1 in shooting efficiency, 37th in defensive rebounds. This team's going to beat somebody in March Madness. They can win by 40. They can win in double OT, hit clutch shots, right? This team is very clutch. If we were talking about a Power 4 team that played nobody in the non-conference schedule, would this be the same argument? Because I'm about to make the same argument for a non-notice team. So what's
and
the
we'll
difference?
get to it.
Right.
I have a counter argument for it. And the difference is that
I'm sure.
Is that a 20-0 Power 4 team has already played Power 4 teams. This team's stats are so skewed. 129 points against Trinity Christian.
Sure, but
135 points against Milligan. 109 points against IU East.
Sure.
Like the stats are skewed because they haven't played anyone but Akron.
Okay. I'm gonna save this. Good argument. Good argument. I guess we'll see. Right? I guess we'll see. I think that this team has what it takes to be a 6 seed, 7 seed. Maybe they slide outside the top 25, right? Because we know kind of the committee can rank things pretty weirdly. But I think they have what it takes, both from a clutch and discipline perspective, to win games in March Madness. Will they win too? No, probably not, because you're going to have to go up against a freaking Arkansas in the second round, or a Nebraska in the second round, depending on what side of the bracket you fall on. But they just feel complete, and they're playing good basketball, which is why I have them at 4. If they end the season undefeated, they're my number 1 team in the nation, ahead of Arizona. So like to be clear, I don't have an issue with you having them in the top 25.
I would not.
Yeah,
I think Akron's better. I have them at 59.
Sure. I disagree.
Having them anywhere inside your top 20, I think it's. I know why you're doing it. I know why you're doing it, and because your rankings are farcical sometimes.
Sometimes, for sure. Kind of like Tennessee at 14, right? So what a great
you have
what a great conversation today. Let me quick Tennessee at 14. NC State at 25. That's an interesting one. I should have looked at your rankings. Oh my God. Yeah, we'll get into that next week. I'm very, you know what? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, to round this out, number 4 in the nation.
They're undefeated. There's only 3 undefeated teams left.
Well, it's Nebraska, Zona, and Miami of Ohio. Oh, interesting.
Miami, that's it, man. That's the 3.
Interesting? It's almost like they should be 3rd of the nation. Whoa. I just thought about that.
They're your rankings, man.
I love that's why we love these rankings. Look at these. Oh my God. This is so awesome.
On notice this week, brought to you by Chainlink.
Let's go.
Make sure you make your picks on Chainlink. It's free and it's easy and it's fun. There are no Miami of Ohio games on there because they're going to be favored by 20 the rest of the season. But UNI is a really, really fun team to watch.
Yeah.
They are very, very quietly, because most of you probably couldn't tell me where UNI is. But the University of Northern Iowa should give it away. They're very quietly playing amazing defense in the Missouri Valley. The offense really sucks. The offense, abysmal is the word. It's in my notes. They aren't going to catch one of the better teams in the conference by surprise. This is the conference with Murray State, Belmont, Bradley, Illinois State. Drake usually is good. But they could really easily slow burn one of these teams to absolute death. UNI is smothering.
Crazy.
And they got this kid who can shoot and get hot at times.
Yep.
Titan Anderson was only averaging like 16 points a game, but he's the one that gets you, right? When you've been ground to a halt, he's the one that's going to go 5 for 5 shooting in the last 2 minutes of the game, hit 8 free throws, and you lose. This UNI team is built for the best conference tournament, the best branded conference tournament in all of sports. If you don't know about the Missouri Valley Conference, They do the tournament in St. Louis every year, and it's called Arch Madness. And it is the best sub-branding of anything ever. Yeah. This UNI team is built to bore you to death in an Arch Madness game and beat a team they shouldn't. Yep. Watch out for UNI on the defensive side of the court for the rest of the Missouri Valley season here.
I'm just going to put a few things in perspective just before I go to mine. They are the number 2 scoring defense in the nation, 61 points a game. They are the best, and I mean it, the best perimeter defensive team in the nation. They're only allowing 26% from 3 and only allowing 5 threes made per game. That is a team that if they win the conference tournament and get the auto bid, that's one of those 4-13s, like 3-15s, where it's like you have to watch out because this team will legitimately slow you down. Liberty Flames, dude. What a surprising little team that we didn't have high on our board to start the season. 16-3-0. I'm sorry, 16-3 overall, 10-0 at home, 5-1 away, 10-game winning streak, dude. This team has wins over Dayton and New Mexico State. Those are both tournament teams. Like, this team can play. One of the most efficient team in the nation, Rick. 5th in 3-point percentage, 15th in 2-point percentage, 39th in 3-point made per game, 5th in effective field goal percentage. Defensively, very, very well disciplined. 12th in allowed free throws attempted and made, 11th in committed fouls, 71st in 2-point percentage defense, 56th in first half defense. Brett Decker Jr. should probably be in the play of the year conversation. I love rage baiting people. 18 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Ready for this? 52% from the field, 78% from the line. He is shooting 50% from 3. Secondarily, Zach Cleveland should win whatever big man award there is. What's it called? The big MF award? I don't know. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks on 61% from the field. This Liberty team is good year over year. I think I missed on them early year. Watch out for the Liberty Flames in both conference play and in the conference tournament. This team looks real good going into the tourney.
All right. I'm going to rip through Denver real quick, try to buy us some time back. The Denver Pioneers suck. Took a break picking on the American because I watched Denver play, and they have a halfway decent shooting offense. Their defense sucks. Horrible. They lost like their entire roster. They don't do anything well. They're undersized. This is like the basement tier of the Summit League. Don't watch any Denver Pioneers games. It will. It was awful.
Yep, and I'm going to try to rip through this rant real quick. Earlier, Rick called Miami, Ohio stats skewed. UConn has played New Haven, UMass Loyal, Columbia, BYU, barely won. Got curb stomped by Arizona. They've played Bryant, Illinois, barely won. Kansas barely won. East Texas A&M, didn't know that was a school, barely won that one. Florida barely won. Won by 5 against Texas, or like 10. Started the what are they in? Big East with Butler, DePaul, Xavier, Marquette, Providence, and then they're going to get DePaul again. Seton Hall and Georgetown, they barely won against those teams. They're a top 2 defensive team in the nation after playing the weakest non-conference scheduled by a Power 4 team in the nation. They can't play offense. I'll keep the stats to myself, but they're like 200th or worst in like free throws made, second half offense, committed turnovers. 4 of your 5 top scorers are shooting in the low 40% from the field. And to round it out, Dan Hurley is the biggest crybaby and complainer that I have ever seen in my life. So, talking about skewing stats, I think UConn is the perfect depiction of that. And I just don't like Dan Hurley. I don't like how he treats the referees. I don't like how he treats the fans. And I think he's a horrible person. So Dan Hurley, if you're watching this, I hope your team loses by 400 in the tournament.
They are identical to last year's St. John's team.
Yes.
Identical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Overvalued.
The Big East schedule's like shit. Yeah.
Yes. Overvalued. Yeah, exactly. Same page.
I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, game of the week. Sorry, we kind of have to speed up here, guys. We will give the game of the week its due diligence, which is why I wanted to speed through on notice.
Absolutely.
Our game of the
This is
week
a
is a
beast.
huge one for
This is
this
a beast.
show
This is a beast.
because this line has shifted as all the Indiana people figured out how to turn on their computers. This is all the way to Purdue minus 5.5. Yesterday, this was 2.5.
That's a really good one.
Totals up to 154, which is probably closer to real.
75, sure. Yeah.
Illinois, Purdue from Mackey.
Yeah.
This game is for all the marbles. So we can get into our analysis, but I wanted to start with a question. Justin, if Purdue loses at home
sure,
to your number 33 ranked team,
yeah,
I am taking them out of my top 25.
Sure, that's fair. Okay.
Will you drop them out of the top 10?
Yes, I will. Yeah, I will. I would also then put Illinois probably at 25. And I think that's right where they should be. Purdue would probably end up around 15, 16, 17, slide all the SEC teams, Michigan, all them up. And then Illinois would for sure be in my top 25. Yeah.
So this is one that we've kind of talked around and looked forward to. We obviously have very different opinions on both of these teams.
Of course.
Some of the luster comes off of it with Purdue's recent loss.
Yep.
The thing here for me is the size inside.
Sure.
I think turning this inside out is what both teams need to try to do. Control the perimeter, control the flow of the game, and win. This is still a Big Ten game. So is this the perfect time to catch Purdue sleeping after that grinder?
Yeah.
Or do you think they have no problem ramping up to a little bit of a more high-flying offense that Illinois can flash?
Yeah, I think they've depicted, like, if you looked at it prior to the loss, at UCLA, which let's be honest is pretty horrendous. I mean, they were averaging like 90 points a game in Big Ten, the start of the Big Ten play. 85 against Minnesota. It's Minnesota. I hear you. 90 against Wisconsin, 81 against Washington, 93 against Penn State. You put up 101 against Kent State. It's Kent State. I understand. 90 against Auburn, 70 against USC, still won. I think they have the ability to score at a high clip, especially if their shooting is on fire. But I think that's one of the things that I'm going to let you start with Illinois. That could be a concern for Purdue is that inconsistency sometimes from 3-point range. So, and I'm going to get into that as kind of a little bit of my X factor later on Purdue. But why don't you start with what you're seeing from Illinois that has impressed you kind of year to date?
Yeah, free throws. Free throws. This Illinois team hits all their free throws. They're number two in this country. 79.8% as a team.
Yeah.
In any game, that's an asset. But in Big Ten games, we know get a little sloggy at the end. That is a massive asset. The other high level piece is just Wagler in general.
Yeah.
Kid is playing really, really well. I think anytime you can make an argument in the Big Ten that a freshman is the best player on the court,
sure,
that says a lot, right? And we can split hairs with that, but the fact that you can even make the argument,
fair.
That doesn't happen in the Big Ten very often, right? No. It's usually guys who've cut their teeth and they know the systems really well. Wagler just kind of shoots the lights out, but he distributes the ball a little bit too. And I think coming back to the big guys, right? Yeah. If you can get Jacobson off the paint a little bit, there's going to be so much room for them to pass the ball around. And if Wagler can get 8 assists and still knock down his normal shots,
sure.
What that tells me, aside from score, right? What that tells me is that Illinois has Purdue spread further than Purdue is built to defend. This is not the same defensive team that Purdue has put out for most of the last decade.
Agreed.
They're good. They're not as good, right? So if Illinois can find lanes, I think spreading the court, finding the air gaps on the floor, I think that plays really, really well into the way Illinois moves at a pace.
Yeah.
Add to that the free throw shooting, and that's kind of the recipe for how Illinois can be up late and then survive Purdue being the better closeout team.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to foul. And if you're making 8 out of 10 at the line,
sure.
That's enough.
And I think, for Illinois, I'm not concerned on the offensive side of the ball. I'll start with Illinois before we kind of talk about Purdue a little bit. They're top 20 no matter how you spin it. You mentioned the free throws. They're incredibly efficient. The defensive side of the ball is what's concerning to me. We know how good Purdue is on the perimeter in terms of shooting. Illinois is 240 in opponents' threes made, 140th in opponents' field goals made, dead last in forced turnovers per game at 365, which if you let Braden Smith get comfortable to get him into the sets, that bodes a problem, right? The good thing is they're number 2 in fouls per game, committed fouls per game, because they don't play defense, right? Now, another one of the things that I think is interesting for Illinois is they're monstrous on the glass. They're monstrous. They're 11th in offensive rebounds and 16th in defensive rebounds. But what's interesting to me, Rick, is they're allowing 10 offensive rebounds a game, which is 238th in the country. So now we get into, some of the keys for Illinois. I'm going to start with offensive rebounds, Rick. I think that's a huge, huge key for Illinois, because if you're allowing a 10 a game, Purdue's grabbing 11 at 66 a game. They have the size and length and Jacob and Clough to kind of bully you on the inside a little bit. If you let Purdue get these O boards, kick dish to the elbow or corner three, you're giving them wide open threes and second chances. You might lose by 20, right? Perimeter integrity. You're 239th, as I said, in allowed threes a game, and you're going against one of the best shooting teams in the nation. But my concern here is you can't run them off the line because they're going to pump fake, one step, interior pass, open layup. We've seen it time after time after time with Purdue. And now, subsequently, again, it's all to the boards for me. You have to generate second chances. Purdue's pretty solid on the defensive glass, but if you think about it this way, you're grabbing 12 offensive rebounds a game. Purdue's grabbing 10. The max difference in second chances you're getting is 6 points. 8 if you get fouled on a 3 twice. It just feels like you got to turn them over. You got to get them out on the break. And then my X factor, obviously, before I turn it back over to you is, Wagler is incredible. No matter how you spin it, he probably is the best, most complete player on the floor. Efficiency sometimes has been an issue for me with Wagler, right? Not necessarily shot selection, but efficiency. And then you look at the rest of their team, and 4 of your top 5 scorers are in the low to mid 40% from the field. You score a ton of points, but you take a lot of shots. So how efficient is this Illinois team going to be when they get into their sets? And I think that's what I'm looking at as the X factor. What are your thoughts on Purdue, though?
Purdue shoots the hell out of the 3-point ball, right?
Yeah.
So that has to be in their minds, right? You cannot give up those lanes on defense, but you have to get back on offense and play your offense.
Yep.
We're splitting hairs with these teams. This is the number 1 and number 2 O rating teams in KenPom. This is the number.
Really that close? Is it really that close?
Yeah, Illinois is 1, Purdue's 2.
God, dude,
they're the best.
awesome.
They're the best offensive teams in the country.
Yeah.
On defense, Purdue's 19th, Illinois is 23rd. These teams are identical for KenPom ratings, right? Which does matter. We try not to lean on that too much either. But like on aggregate, these teams are phenomenal. This matchup is phenomenal. If I'm Purdue, I am leaning on the 2 things that I do better. It's 3-point shooting and it's offensive boards.
Yep.
And I am making sure that the presence is felt in the middle, but also on the perimeter, right? And that's really tough to do end to end, right? If you're playing good defense, it's tough to get back on offense and run your sets efficiently against a team that moves as fast as Illinois does.
True.
If I'm Purdue, that's what we've been working on all week, and I'm sure they have been, right? If they shoot 40% from 3, it's over. Yeah. It's over. because they'll take a bunch of those shots.
And they're
They'll chuck
close.
them.
They're at like 39.8% from three or some shit. Like they're number 2 in the nation.
Yeah.
So
So for me, it comes back to like the big men. Can Illinois open up those lanes?
Right.
Can they pull the guys, the big men, out of the middle?
Yeah.
If they can, I think it's Illinois' game to lose in a classic Big Ten sense.
Sure.
But if Purdue can establish themselves and their 3-point shooting early, Purdue can score more points than Illinois can.
Absolutely.
So those are kind of the two sides of the coin for me. Is like it's going to start inside and it's going to end outside. But watch those passing lanes. If Illinois is making like 3 passes on every possession and nailing shots, Purdue's going to have to pick up the pace and start hitting those threes, because that spacing is what's going to matter at the end.
Absolutely. And I think, obviously we can get into more detail on Purdue, but I mean, efficiency wise, they're incredible, right? They're 8th in field goal percentage, 20th in 3-point percentage. The team is it feels very complete. My keys for them is kind of mixed, actually. So my thing is, I think you have to slow the game down because you can win that way. I think if you try to keep up with Illinois, it'll be more difficult. It's possible, but it'll be more difficult to win. Illinois is one of the worst teams in the nation at defensive pressure. 365th out of 366. Purdue doesn't commit any turnovers. They're at 9 a game. I think if you slow the game down, you run your sets, you're going to be able to generate not only wide open looks on the perimeter, but on the interior as well, because they're going to be flying at you, like I mentioned earlier, and you'll be able to get into the paint. They have to use their size to the advantage. Illinois does have height, right? Like we understand Illinois is a big team, but Purdue is big as well. They have 2 7-footers that they can throw at you any given time. You allowed 30 points in the paint versus UCLA. If that happens versus Illinois, we will lose. Like Purdue will lose, just full stop. So you have to have some interior integrity, and that to me is how you can win the game. Last one, you got to make them uncomfortable. Illinois is very good at taking care of the ball. They don't commit a lot of turnovers, but 13 turnovers versus Iowa, 13 turnovers versus Texas Tech, 10 versus UConn. If you pressure this Illinois team, they can get a bit uncomfortable and get a little sloppy. They're still going to put up 80 points. But they can get a bit sloppy, and you'll generate second chances. X factor. Fletcher Lawyer. Dude's a stud. 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal on 90% free throw and 38% 3-point. He's only shooting 42% from the field. He went 2 for 10 against UCLA, 1 for 6 versus 3-point. You can't have that happen against Illinois. You need to shoot 40% from 3 and 50% from the field and that to me will be the key. Smith, Kaufman, Wren, and Clef are going to get theirs. It all down to Fletcher Lawyer and how efficient this kid is from the field. So really excited for this one, man. With that being said, in Mackey.
Do we even need the next slide? I feel like everyone just knows.
Yeah. I mean, to be expected. I am taking Purdue. Think it'll be a really, really close, really, really fun game to watch. I do think it'll end up, 6-7 point win for Purdue.
Yeah, sitting, like I said, 5.5 live. It's moving a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised to see us get to 6.
Yeah.
I have Illinois.
Yep.
I also like the over.
Sure.
80s-ish feels about right to me.
Sure. So. Yeah, makes sense. Gonna be a good one. Gonna be a real good one.
Yeah, gonna be solid. Make sure you make your game of the week pick on Chainlink. It is the widest money line split on the board today. So if all you do is blindly pick spots, Purdue is the biggest favorite on the board. So go give that one a click.
Wow.
Yeah, other than that, sorry we went just a little bit long. We had a lot of rankings talk today. Rankings are going to look different next week, guys.
Yes,
we called each other out on about all of the splits that were left. So, and then this game obviously is massive.
Huge one. I am 9-3. Rick is 6-6. Just got to do one last little poke at Rick there. But who knows?
I almost picked Purdue so they'd lose.
What a great episode. Really looking forward to seeing how the top 25 turns out next week. Put your picks in the comments. Go on Chainlink. Great episode, man. What a lot of fun today.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Dead Ball Dancing. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Peace out, y'all. Enjoy the ball.